Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And in a world, or province, as big as Skyrim, not everything may be as it seems. And with such an enthusiastic and dedicated fanbase, many a Dragonborn have proposed theories and alternate explanations to some of the happenings in The Elder Scrolls V that really break away from what we would expect. So today, without any further ado, we'll be exploring a few of those proposals, as we take a look at another 5 theories in The Elder Scrolls V that are just crazy enough to maybe be true. Starting off, Wylandria is the scatterbrained court wizard of Riften. We've discussed her before on this channel, and she's best known for being a little bit out there, if you will. She is extremely forgetful, and often says ideas and proposes theories that just don't make any sense at all. Take a listen to one possible conversation you can have with her.
Of course! 9 is the most basic of magical principles. Oh, how stupid of me. You've done it! Now, if I can only remember what we were originally talking about. Did we have an appointment? No. It was a delivery? I can't remember.
This short attention span and dim-wittedness really define Wylandria's character. Well, those characteristics may just be a bit of a ruse. You see, some players believe that Wylandria is actually considerably more intelligent and disciplined than she lets on, and rather she simply pretends to be a bit goofy in order to get people to leave her alone. This idea is reinforced by a few conversations Wylandria may have with other NPCs randomly in the game, where she briefly drops the whole dim-witted persona and takes on a much more serious tone. One occurs when she is surprised by Jarl Laelia Lawgiver when Riften's ruler interrupts one of Wylandria's experiments, and in another instance, she can scold Hemming Blackbriar for hitting on her. Whether this cookie's a lot smarter than she lets on, only she knows. Next on our list, this theory requires you to keep a bit more of an open mind, as if true it would be pretty huge in the grand scheme of things. But some suspect Miraak isn't the only other Dragonborn you can come across. The other, in fact, being Vampire Lord Harkon from the Dawnguard DLC. A theory posted on Reddit a couple of years ago by a user going by Toad of Steel argues that the leader of the Castle Volokar clan of vampires is more than just a bloodsucker, but also a Dovahkiin in his own right. There's quite a few key points that come together to form this theory. We'll just go over the biggest. For one, Lord Harkon's obsession with power is a very common characteristic among Dragonborns. From Miraak's attempt to take over people's minds to Tiber Septim's conquest of Tamriel, Lord Harkon's wife makes it very clear that his real goal in the Dawnguard questline is just fulfilling his own lust for power, rather than ushering in some golden age for his clan as he pretends. Additionally, Harkon's hatred of the sun may represent a relationship that he shares with Akatosh, the creator of the dragons. The sun symbolizes Oriel, or Ariel, or however you pronounce it, the elven variant of Akatosh, and Harkon seeks to blot out or otherwise destroy the sun throughout the game. This thus also fulfills another common trait amongst those with dragon souls, a willingness to revolt. Miraak's revolt against the dragons, and later Hermaeus Mora. Paarthurnax's revolt against Alduin. But the most damning piece of evidence that points in the direction of Harkon being a Dragonborn is the music that plays during the player's final showdown with him, as the game plays the same musical theme during your battle with Harkon as it does in dragon battles. This isn't true for any other boss in the game. A different score plays during your fight with Mercer Frey or the Ebony Warrior. But for some reason, only Lord Harkon shares a musical theme with the dragons as you battle. Now, I find that to be pretty big, but there are some holes in this theory. For one, when you kill Lord Harkon, you don't absorb a dragon soul. However, it could be argued that since he's a vampire, his soul belongs to Molag Bal anyway. On top of that, there should typically only be one Dragonborn alive on Earth at a time, but Harkon isn't really alive. So, are Harkon's dragon-like tendencies mere coincidences, or a part of something greater? Only he and Akatosh know, and they won't tell. Also, Todd Howard knows. Covenant number 3 is a theory that's far less world-shaking, but I still definitely think deserves a mention. During the game's first quest, Unbound, a priestess of Arkay attempts to give the Stormcloak prisoners standing before the executioner their final rites. This is a short prayer that's supposed to last a good minute, as the priestess recites it. However, before she can even get past the introduction, one Stormcloak soldier will rudely interrupt her, saying, "For the love of Talos, shut up so we can get this over with," before walking right up to the chopping block and getting executed.
For the love of Talos, shut up and let's get this over.
Learn our... As you wish.
My ancestors are smiling at me, Imperials. Can you say the same?
Well, according to some, this unnamed Stormcloak soldier probably wouldn't have died had he just remained quiet and allowed the prayer to finish. The reason being is that it likely would have taken up enough time for Alduin to attack before the executions actually began. Even if the priestess spoke rather fast, it would have still taken a minute for the Imperial captain to formally call the prisoner's name, and then proceed to walk him to the block, etc. If this man wasn't in so much of a hurry, he probably wouldn't have been executed to death by the Imperials, and just might have made it out of Helgen alive with everyone else. This same truth probably also applies to Lokira as well, the horse thief who made a run for it and got shot down with arrows. He could have been saved too. I guess you could say they both should have held their horses? For a fourth spot, the hold of Eastmarch is home to a large series of hot springs, sulfur pools, and geysers. It's alleged that the waters have therapeutic and almost magical properties in The Emperor's Guide to Tamriel, a book series in the Elder Scrolls Online. That same book collection also makes the claim that the springs are simply the result of fault lines and fractures in the planet's crust. But some aren't buying that explanation. Many players, myself kind of included, think that the real reason for Eastmarch's hot springs may have something to do with Dwemer structures potentially underneath the ground upon which the hot springs sit. A large ruined fort sits atop the geysers, suggesting at one point human structures could be built here and the land was fairly tame. So something big had to have happened here fairly recently. You could go so far as to suggest that perhaps the formation of these geysers is somehow connected to the disappearance of the Dwemer or the Ethereum Wars. Whatever it is, I think it'd be really cool if Bethesda had something big hidden underneath those geysers. When it was finally revealed in Elder Scrolls 6, which comes out in 10 years apparently, it would be a big aha moment or something like that. But regardless, I guess we'll have to wait a very long time to find out. And finally, last on our list, the Dunmer of Tamriel almost all have red eyes. This is a result of a curse laid upon their people by Azora, a Daedric prince back in the First Era, which turned their skin to ash and eyes red. Before such a curse was invoked, the Dunmer were actually a race of people known as the Chimer, but Azora so radically changed them that most now consider the Dark Elves their own race. That said, across Skyrim, there are actually 3 Dark Elves in the game that lack the distinct red eye color for some reason. Carlia, the Dunmer Nightingale and former Thieves Guild member you meet during the Thieves Guild questline, who plays a pretty major role throughout it all, as well as the Sarethi sisters, who own and operate the Sarthi farm in Riften. Bethesda never firmly establishes why these characters in particular lack the traits so prevalent in their fellow Dunmer. Now, some consider this was just Bethesda being Bethesda, and they didn't really have a reason for this. But as you can expect, there's still some pretty serious speculation. Others argue that perhaps this means Azora's curse is wearing off, and the Dunmer are ever so slowly losing their dark skin and red eyes, returning to their ancient Chimer selves. Of course, this is a process that could be taking hundreds of years across dozens of generations, but it might be happening. Another suggestion is that perhaps these characters are special in some way. Carlia certainly is, being the granddaughter of Queen Berenzia and holding a personal relationship with the Daedric god Nocturnal. However, the same obviously isn't true for the Sarethi sisters, who seem to be pretty mundane and normal. So what's going on here? Well, again, only Todd Howard knows, and Todd Howard isn't saying anything. But there you have it, another 5 crazy theories in The Elder Scrolls V. Which of these was your personal favorite, and of it that it made the most sense to you? And what wacky explanations do you have for some of the happenings in Skyrim that I haven't covered yet? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.